It was a sweltering summer evening in Chicago's South Side when the unthinkable happened. On July 17, 2017, a group of men affiliated with the Gangster Disciples gang opened fire on a vehicle driven by 28-year-old Antonio Johnson. The innocent bystander, who had no ties to any gang, was struck multiple times and left for dead in the street. The shooting sent shockwaves through the community, but what followed was nothing short of catastrophic. A wave of retaliation swept through Chicago's streets as rival gangs sought revenge for Johnson's murder. Over the next 5 years, a relentless cycle of violence would claim the lives of at least 25 people and leave dozens more injured. One of those caught in the crossfire was 19-year-old Jasmine Williams. She had been dating Johnson's cousin, but when she tried to intervene during the initial shooting, she became an unintended target herself. Struck by a stray bullet, Williams would spend months recovering from her injuries. As investigators delved deeper into the incident, they discovered that the Gangster Disciples had been involved in a long-standing feud with a rival gang, the Black P. Stones. A complex web of alliances and grudges had been building for years, with both sides using increasingly brazen tactics to outmaneuver each other. The aftermath of Johnson's murder would be marked by an escalating cycle of revenge, as each side sought to exact retribution on the other. Shootings, stabbings, and even brutal beatings became a regular occurrence in Chicago's most vulnerable neighborhoods. The city was on high alert, but it seemed no one could break free from the deadly cycle of retaliation that had been unleashed. On a sweltering summer evening in August 2017, the city of Chicago was gripped by chaos as gunfire erupted in the streets. The shooting, which would later be linked to a local gang, sent shockwaves through the community, claiming the life of 19-year-old Ricardo Gonzalez and injuring several others. As investigators struggled to piece together the events surrounding the shooting, a chilling pattern began to emerge. What initially seemed like an isolated incident was soon revealed to be part of a far more sinister and complex cycle. Over the next few weeks, a wave of retaliatory violence swept through Chicago's streets, as rival gangs sought revenge for the loss of one of their own. The numbers were staggering. Within a span of 72 hours, no fewer than 7 shootings had left 5 people dead and a dozen injured. At the epicenter of this deadly cycle was a notorious gang leader, identified only by his street name Big Tony. Intelligence reports suggested that Big Tony had been seeking to consolidate power in Chicago's South Side, using intimidation and violence to quell any opposition. The shooting of Ricardo Gonzalez, a young associate of a rival gang, seemed like the perfect opportunity for Big Tony to flex his muscles. As the body count rose, investigators began to unravel the intricate web of alliances and grudges that fueled this dark cycle. They discovered that Big Tony's gang had been quietly building a network of informants and spies within the community, feeding them information on rival gang members' whereabouts and movements. The shooting of Gonzalez was merely the spark that set off a chain reaction, as both gangs scrambled to outmaneuver each other in a deadly game of cat and mouse. The aftermath of this violence would be nothing short of devastating, with an estimated 200 community leaders and activists calling for calm and demanding justice for the victims. But amidst the pleas for peace and tranquility, there was a growing sense that this cycle of revenge had become self-sustaining, a twisted dance of retribution and retaliation that seemed to have a momentum all its own. As the summer of 2017 reached its peak in Chicago, a sense of unease settled over the city's South Side. It started with a gang-related shooting at a local park on July 17, where 2 members of the Gangster Disciples were gunned down by a rival faction, the Black P. Stones. The incident sent shockwaves through the community, and within hours, word spread like wildfire that a member of the Black P. Stones had been arrested for the crime. But in a matter of days, tensions escalated as members of the Gangster Disciples vowed to take revenge on their enemies. On July 20th, 2 individuals linked to the Black P. Stones were shot and killed in separate incidents. The cycle of retaliation had begun, with each side trading blows in a deadly game of cat and mouse. One of the key players in this deadly sequence was Michael Ward, a high-ranking member of the Gangster Disciples who would go on to become one of the main targets of the Black P. Stones retaliation. According to eyewitnesses, Ward had been involved in the initial shooting that sparked the cycle, and his reputation as a ruthless enforcer made him a prime target for revenge. Over the next few weeks, the violence only intensified, with at least 6 more individuals killed in gang-related shootings. The Black P. Stones continued to retaliate against members of the gangster disciples, while the latter responded with increasingly brutal attacks on their rivals' strongholds. The body count mounted, and the city's law enforcement struggled to keep pace with the escalating violence. As the summer drew to a close, Chicago's streets had become a war zone, with innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. The dark cycle of revenge had claimed at least 12 lives, with many more wounded or traumatized by the relentless bloodshed. It would take months for authorities to unravel the tangled web of alliances and rivalries that fueled this deadly sequence, but one thing was clear: the summer of 2017 would forever be etched in the memories of those who lived through it as a time of unrelenting chaos and violence. As we delve deeper into the dark cycle of revenge, it's essential to understand the intricate web of motivations and consequences that drive individuals to seek retribution. The tragic events in Chicago serve as a stark reminder of the devastating impact this phenomenon can have on communities. On August 26, 2017, a 28-year-old man named Ricardo Aguirre was shot and killed by gang members in a park on the city's southwest side. His death sparked a chain reaction of retaliation that would go on to claim 6 more lives over the next 5 years. A closer examination of the events reveals a disturbing pattern: each incident of violence begets another, perpetuating a cycle of hatred and revenge. What's striking is the sheer number of individuals caught in this vortex. Between 2017 and 2022, no fewer than 37 people were killed or injured in the aftermath of Aguirre's shooting. This staggering figure highlights the scale of destruction wrought by the dark cycle of revenge. Experts point to a complex interplay between socioeconomic factors, community dynamics, and individual motivations as contributing to this phenomenon. Some argue that the rise of social media has amplified the potential for conflict, allowing grievances to spread like wildfire through online networks. The ripple effects of these events are far-reaching, with entire neighborhoods caught in the crossfire. For those affected by the violence, the trauma can be long-lasting, echoing through generations. As we strive to comprehend this entrenched cycle of violence, it's crucial to acknowledge that each death is a symptom of deeper societal issues that demand attention and resolution if we hope to break the cycle. The Chicago case serves as a stark reminder that the dark cycle of revenge can happen anywhere, claiming lives and shattering communities. It was a sweltering summer evening in Chicago when the unthinkable happened. On August 6, 2017, 18-year-old Antonio Valdez was gunned down in a hail of bullets on the city's south side. The victim had ties to a notorious gang, and his murder would set off a chain reaction that would leave a trail of death and destruction in its wake. As police scrambled to piece together the events surrounding Valdez's killing, they began to uncover a web of retaliation that had been years in the making. It turned out that Valdez's murder was not an isolated incident, but rather the latest installment in a long-standing feud between rival gangs. The investigation revealed that Valdez's slaying was a direct response to an earlier shooting that had claimed the life of a 16-year-old gang member just 6 months prior. This cycle of violence would continue to escalate over the next 5 years, with each side seeking revenge for the death of their loved ones. As the body count mounted, so did the outrage from community leaders and residents who were caught in the crossfire. They spoke out against the senseless violence, calling on local authorities to take a tougher stance against gang activity. But despite these pleas, the cycle continued unabated. Meanwhile, detectives working the case began to uncover a disturbing pattern of retaliation that seemed almost premeditated. In several instances, they found evidence of gang members coordinating attacks on rival groups, often targeting specific individuals and families in an effort to maximize the pain and suffering of their enemies. As the investigation deepened, it became clear that this was not just about individual acts of revenge, but a deeply ingrained cultural phenomenon that had been allowed to fester for far too long. The question now was whether authorities could finally put an end to the cycle before more lives were lost. As we reflect on the events that transpired in Chicago's streets 5 years ago, it becomes